A little over 2 years ago, I made this video right here. This video right here. It is by far the most viewed thing I have ever made. It's not close. And ironically, the whole thing from idea to upload was only like an hour and a half. It was not thought through. I fucking just said shit, uploaded shit, and the shit's up there forever. But whatever, that's fine. Whatever, that's like why I'm on YouTube. That's why I'm doing this. But my overall sentiment with what I was trying to say on that video rang true, because I am such a huge fucking James Rolfe Cinemassa head that I have consumed more than 99.99% of fans of his have ever consumed. Everything he's ever fucking put out, I have scarfed it down. I've nommed. So when something's wrong, like, you get a sense when his style starts to shift suddenly and dramatically. And that was the sense I was getting around that time. It was obvious to hardcore longtime fans of Cinemassacre and James Rolfe that he had begun to outsource much of the creative work in his videos, not just AVGN episodes, but across his whole channel, to these guys who work at a company called Screenwave Media, which was owned by an old friend of James's. The main idea in that video, my biggest point, was that if it's not James's opinions, if it's not James saying all this, if he's being written for by these guys behind the scenes, kind of controlled like a puppet in these videos, then why are you still making them? Like, what's the fucking point of us watching? What's the point of you making the video if you can't even, like, muster up the energy to come up with your own thoughts for them? Then, like, who the fuck cares? I thought that he could start a Patreon, sit down, talk about movies, like his main fucking topic of interest, and he would clean up, throw in a few personal projects, like those horror things he makes, like The Head Incident Returns, like throw shit like that on there. And you can just talk about movies, either like specific reviews or general topics. Make a Patreon. You could still have video sponsors. And there's no way that wouldn't be like enough money to live on. Like, you would fucking clean up. You would make so much money doing that. But that's not what he did. Instead, he fucking hired these clowns to make these fucking videos for him. Well, he shows up on set like Krusty smoking the fucking cigarette.
Let's get this right. 1, hey kids, I'm talking Krusty. 2, hey, here comes Slideshow Mel. Again, here comes Sideshow Mel. 3, bada bing, bada boom, I'm done.
Reads his lines, and as a result, we got these crappy fucking soulless videos for a few years there. I still think that way. I still think that entire era of Cinemassacre fucking sucked. It's not worth watching. But a lot has happened since I made that video between then and now. That was before even Mike left the channel. Like, since then, Mike has left the channel. For the rest of 2020 and 2021, they were uploading at a breakneck pace. They were uploading 2 to 3 videos every single week. And James wasn't even in all the videos. Like, there would be a video uploaded. I remember one that was like PS5 versus Xbox One. And it was just them, like, interviewing a bunch of dudes, like just a bunch of people. Like, oh, what do you think about the new PS5 and I said Xbox One, and the Xbox Series X? Like, who gives a shit? It's a fucking, like, retro gaming channel. Like, James doesn't fucking care about video games, so they can't even, like, he can't even be on that fucking video. Before things got better, they got worse. For the rest of 2020, for the rest of 2021, we were getting these crappy, fucking soulless videos that were ghost written by fucking people behind the scenes, with James just flapping his gums saying words that he doesn't believe, that he didn't think of. So, Monster Madness, right? He puts out every year in the month of October. He uploads a video every day talking about horror films. His supposed favorite thing in the entire world, horror films. The first one goes up, and it takes a weird turn where he starts talking about 9/11.
The movie began shooting on September 1st, 2001. We all know what happened so shortly after, and when seeing the film today and being put into that time period, you can't help but think of 9/11.
And it's really jarring and it's really strange. And it's not something you would ever expect James to talk about. It's not something you would expect even his ghostwriters to talk about. And that's because it was fucking plagiarized. This guy named Newt Wallen, who is a friend of one of the slobs, the biggest one, Justin, was a friend, is a friend, I don't know. He's like in their friend group. They outsourced it to him to write these fucking Monster Madness videos. And it turns out he's a serial plagiarist. Probably the funniest thing I've seen uncovered on the Cinemassacre Truth is, you guys remember the AVGN roast? A long time ago, it was like, you know what a roast is, right? Fucking a bunch of people make fun of somebody, but it's all like in good nature, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So he was on that, this guy named Newt. And it turns out every single one of his jokes from that was plagiarized.
Figure out what he was going to wear, either honey glazed or pineapple slices. Seen less bloated bodies pulled out of fucking rivers.
So this guy, like, he has a fucking problem. Like, whenever he needs to do creative work, he just, like, fucking takes it from wherever, sticks it into his shit. That's what he does. He got exposed for doing that. And, like, James is reading this review, this contemporary review from the early 2000s, like, when 9/11 was fucking fresh. It came out right away. People were onto it like that. It was fucking stolen. So he apologized, and I think it was a really big wake-up call for James. And Cinemassacre takes a little hiatus. They don't upload for the entire month of January, at least not till the end. January 28th, I did my research beforehand, was the first video of new content that he put out this year with a marked different direction. Throughout 2022, we haven't seen Justin, we haven't seen Kieran, we haven't seen Tony, we haven't seen any of the slobs as they're known. It's just been James. And it's so refreshing. I mean, he's not doing anything amazing for most of the year. Most of his videos, he sits down in front of a green screen and he just gives his like boilerplate opinions on whatever the given topic is. And that's fine. That's all anybody's asking you to do. As for AVGN this year in 2022, it seems like kind of a back to basics approach. It's, as we can see from the credits, Kieran, one of the slobs, is still editing the episodes, but they feel like James topics. They feel like James words coming out of James' mouth. And that's all we've ever asked for, man. That's all we need. Just make sure the shit that you're saying is actually yours and you're fucking golden, James. He uploaded an episode today about Garfield, and that's actually the inspiration for this little ramble thing I'm doing here, because I thought it was fantastic. It seemed like through 2022, even though it was more James, like it was more of what we wanted, the episodes weren't fully back yet. It was kind of like he had to work himself out of this long slump. He needed to relearn how to make these videos great, because it's been years since he's been doing it on his own, or mostly on his own, like from concept to writing to performing. And he made a Garfield episode today that was fantastic. It's one of, in the top 10% of AVGN episodes, I would say. And if you're still capable of that, I think I made one miscalculation in my original video. I just assumed that James had lost all of his passion forever and that it would never come back. But it seems like he's really woken up as of late. And if James can get out of bed, like, it was never a question whether or not he was capable of making great videos. It was always if he was willing to do it. And for a few years there, it was obvious he wasn't. But it seems like he is again. So, all right, James, like, don't fucking shine on. Keep doing it. Keep going. I'm still a big fan. I read the fucking book. There's the book. Actually, let's talk about the book. Let me sit down and talk about the book. Here's the book, and everybody likes to make fun of the pictures on the cover, and no doubt, like this one in particular looks really stupid, but I enjoyed the book. He goes really in depth into times in his life that you have not heard in like his other content. Like if you've seen Cinemassacre 200, Cinemassacre 100 even, that's a deeper cut, like Dragon in My Dreams, all those like personal videos and just like tidbits that he's mentioned over the years, then you've heard a lot of what's in the book, but you haven't heard everything. He goes really in depth. He goes into some deep cuts, like talking about when he was in high school, as you just saw. But what fascinates me is he goes really in depth about his time in a special ed school, because it becomes clear as you're reading this book that James Rolfe is an autistic man. Like not as an insult. I don't mean that like as an insult. That's just is what he is. He's an autistic man that came up just before that was a fucking like thing that was diagnosed and labeled. Back then he was just a strange kid. And for him to go as far in his life as he has accomplished more than I have, more than I ever will, probably more than you have. And it's inspiring. I wish he talked more about the Angry Video Game Nerd in this book. He doesn't talk about making like any specific episodes. He goes on and on and on and on and on about the movie, and there's some interesting bits in there about the movie. But as for like his career, and most of the time that like you know him for, there's really not a whole lot of content. It goes into his college days a lot. It goes into his high school days quite a bit. So yeah, it's a good read. It uses simple language. People make fun of him for using simple language, but simple language is great. There was a time in my life when I was making videos where I would go to the fucking thesaurus and I would spice up my writing, my prose like it was a fucking college essay. But you don't need that, man. Just express your thoughts in the simplest way possible, like James does in this book. Yes, it's fucking, you could read this in a 5th grade classroom just fine. It's not complex, but there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. For a book talking about his life, it's great. Like, if you're a fucking James Rolfe fan, just get the book, read the book, it's great.